Hello, this is Evan here, Molendinarius from Latinum, and in this little video I just wanted to explain to you a little bit about the process that I use when I'm going through producing an audio recording. I'm now in a position where I can spend time every day working on audio for Latinum at Patreon. And those of you who are members at Patreon will notice that there's a constant stream of uploads. I've had to turn off the notifications because I'm making these very frequently and I don't want to annoy all my members. So once a month or so I'll send out a circular email with all the uploads. But let's get back to the process. The first thing is, of course, is to select a text. For example, I've just released a recording of the Vulgate Psalms in restored classical pronunciation. Now you may ask, well, why do this in restored classical? Usually these psalms are read in a medieval pronunciation. The reason for that is that to develop an ear for classical pronunciation, you need to be exposed to lots of text. And the psalms are a core text. In the curriculum that developed in the Renaissance, when Latin was a working scholarly language, the language of the Psalms formed a base for those people who were writing Neo-Latin. And the vast majority of the Latin works that survive are, of course, written in this Neo-Latin. There's an enormous amount of Latin out there now accessible through Google Books. So I select a text, for example, the Vulgate Psalms, and then I go through the text and I check the quantities, the long and the short quantities of the vowels in the text. And then before I record, I quietly read through the text that I'm going to record. And then I make my first recording. I then listen to that, and if I'm happy with what I've done, I will then do various adjustments to it, for example, remove any background noise, etc. There's quite a lot of construction going out there in the city right now outside my window, and some of that noise filters through, so I eliminate that and add some acoustic effects if necessary for a more artistic piece like the Psalms. And if necessary, of course, I re-record parts of the text. Even somebody who's had as much experience as reading Latin aloud as I have, it's still the case that occasionally a long vowel is read short where it should be long, etc. And when I listen back to the text, then I make those adjustments. If I'm not happy, then I wipe the whole thing and I record it again. So this whole process of reading through silently, marking up the quantities, and then doing the first recording, going back, listening to the recording, and then of course uploading it to Latinum at Patreon takes quite a while. So I can spend 4 hours, 5 hours in the morning working on producing material for Latinum, depending of course on the difficulty of the text. If I'm just reading a basic student level text, then the process is of course much faster. And if I'm reading a text that's printed with the macrons in it, then of course it's also much faster, although one has to be careful because there are errors in the printed texts, and you'll find a vowel is marked long by nature when actually it's just a syllable that's long by position. This is quite frequent. The mistakes occur in dictionaries, and they are quite frequent in the printed texts where the macrons are marked. So that needs to be looked at with care, and of course it's much easier to go astray if you're looking at a text with macrons and you think, well, that's you're relying on the store of memory of how words are pronounced to alert you to the fact that a macron is misplaced. So that's the process of producing a text for Latinum. And as I said, the most recent text is the Book of Psalms, which is now complete. And in the download only section, because on the Latinum at Patreon there too, there's a section where you can subscribe to download the zip file with each psalm separately as a separate audio file, numbered, etc. Or you can select streaming only, in which case you have to go to the Psalms catalog and stream each individual psalm by itself. I've also started recording the Latin paraphrases of the Psalms of Buchanan, and I've also started to record Castellion's translation of the Book of Psalms. Castellion's Psalms are very interesting because they are written in a much more classical idiom than the Vulgate Psalms. So that's a project in and of itself. I don't believe there is an edition of the Vulgate Psalms out there in restored classical pronunciation apart from mine. If there is, well, you can always find that. And of course there are various editions of the Book of Psalms in the medieval pronunciation scheme, which is stressed based and not based on vowel lengths. The other project I'm currently working on is Lomon's Historiae Sacrae, and that shall be finished within a week or two, and ongoing recording of the works of Caesar. And another project that's ongoing, recently started, is Maud Reed's Julia, which I've started to produce one chapter at a time and upload to Latinum at Patreon. So you can find Latinum at Patreon by going to patreon.com and just typing in Latinum in the search box, or you can go to Latinum, sorry, I should know that after all these years, latinum.org.uk, and then follow the links there to Patreon, or it may even direct you there directly. I can't remember how I've set it up. It may direct you straight to Latinum at Patreon, and for a very small amount you can subscribe and access the entire subscription streaming catalog. For a slightly higher amount you can access all of the downloadable audiobooks. So that's it from me for today, and I hope you enjoy the materials I have here on YouTube, and also I hope that you, if you are a member of Latinum at Patreon, enjoy the materials that are available there. Vale, bye.